Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are here with another interview. Today we have Miss Jen Werner. She is an actress. She's been acting for how long have you been acting for?
Since I was a little kid.
Since you were a little kid. She's here to tell us her story, what makes her so creative, what keeps her going. Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That's
I
good.
am.
That's great. Great. So I looked over your resume and you have a litany, a laundry list longer than any grocery list that I've ever had of actual shows that you've done. Now, talk a little bit about that. What shows have you done?
Well, I've up here, I've done Bye Bye Birdie, I've done Arsenic and Old Lace. I
Wow.
I've directed some shows. I directed
Okay.
Hour and the Crucible, and Steel Magnolias.
Wow.
And what else have I been in?
Mhm.
I've done Confetti Fest.
Yep.
I mean, I started when I was a kid and I did a lot of high school stuff. I went to college for theater, so I did a lot of college theater. Then I did a lot of community theater. I've
Hmm.
done summer stock.
Yep.
I've pounded the pavement, gone into New York.
Yeah. Yep. How's that? How's the attempt in New York?
It's been rough. I
Yeah.
mean, when it was in my best vocal shape,
Yep.
I was too young for the roles that I was going for. And now that I'm old enough to play those roles, my voice is not what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. And that it's a vicious circle. It's that you get to where you need to be in one way and then less in another way, you know.
Plus, I used to live in New Jersey. I lived like
Okay.
5 minutes from the George Washington Bridge. So going into New York for auditions was no big deal. Now
Yeah.
I'm up here, it's 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
like, do you have a preference between plays and musicals? You know, for anybody who's not familiar, plays don't have the music and the musicals do. Do you have a preference?
right now, since my voice is not at its optimal, I prefer
Hmm.
I prefer plays. I
Yeah.
mean, I love doing musicals. There are a
Hmm.
ton. I've done a lot. There are a
Hmm.
lot I would like to do again. There are like plenty I would love to do that I've never done. But
Hmm.
until I can get my voice back to where it was, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's. Lisa says it's possible. My teacher says it's possible.
Yeah.
It
Mm.
would take a lot of work because
Yeah.
believe it or not, I used to be a mezzo soprano.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can hear that lower register.
Yeah, now I'm like a
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Um, so how did all of this start? You know, your entire journey. You know, you said you've been doing it since you were a little girl. Like how did you get into the world of performing?
Okay, this is my
I
favorite story in the world.
love it.
My parents both worked for New York City schools, so they had the
Okay.
summer, and they would
Okay.
work at summer camps where they ran. They either worked at them or were directors. And the summer that I was 3 years old, they were working. We were working in a camp, and I was there. And the camp put on Men of La Mancha, and my
Wow. Okay.
dad played the innkeeper,
Okay.
and I just fell in love with it. At 3 years
Mhm.
old, I fell in love with it. When we got home from camp, my parents got the album, the cast album, and I would listen to it over and over and over.
Mhm.
Every time Don Quixote dies at the end, I would burst into tears.
Yep. Yeah.
Just so my parents took me to see it on Broadway.
Wow.
And unfortunately, Richard Kiley was no longer in it, but I saw Dave Holliday was in it. And
Wow. Wow.
I sat and watched it, and people were just so amazed that I sat there so quietly and so
Yeah.
attentive. And I watched the show and I loved the show. And again, when he died, I burst into tears. I was like
Hmm.
consolable. So
Yeah.
my parents got me, we went to the stage door, and my father talked to the stage manager, told him what was going on. And Dave Halliday said, bring her in. So
Wow.
I went into his dressing room. He had already changed out of his costume, but he still had his Don Quixote makeup on.
Okay.
put me on, he picked me up and put me on his dressing table. He took hands in his and took the makeup off his face and explained that nobody died. It's just a story. You know,
Oh,
sad about. And I was hooked. From
yeah.
that moment on, I knew what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. And not a lot of people get their start that way. Not a lot of people get their start having a little backstage pass into Broadway,
Yeah.
like that's incredible.
And then a year later, I made my offstage Broadway debut. My mom and her friend took me and her friend's kids to see Fiddler on the Roof, and
Wow.
it was during Passover.
Okay.
There was a point where Tevye says to Perchik, "Come to my house and we'll break bread together." And this
Mhm.
4-year-old stood up and at the top of her lungs yelled, "You can't eat bread! It's Passover!" And I just had to stop the show because the actors were laughing.
That's so funny. Oh, they're an
Yeah,
eternal memory in their careers for the rest of their life.
I would love to
That's
bump into somebody that was in that production and see if they
yeah,
remember. I mean, how do
yeah. Mhm.
you?
Wow. When was the age when you had your first formal show that you did?
I
Was it through school?
It was mostly through school. I did like in elementary school, we did plays every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
But it wasn't until I got to high school where I started doing all the shows. I did
yeah.
the You would
Mm.
do a play in the fall, a musical in the
Yeah.
spring,
That seems to be like a never-ending formula because that's exactly what I did.
and
Oh.
then the summer after my first year, I went to college for theater,
Hmm.
and summer after my
Where did you go
first
to college for it?
New Jersey at William Patterson University.
Okay. All right. Great.
And that summer, after the first year, I worked as an apprentice at the Berkshire Theater Festival
Wow.
in
Wow.
Stockton, Massachusetts, and I worked my tail off. I mean, we had
Yeah.
classes all morning long, and in the afternoons we were working in the scene shops. You
Hmm.
know, we rotated different shops, and then at night we would work the productions. And
Wow. Jesus.
I got to meet amazing, amazing people.
Hmm. Yeah. That was one thing that I noticed, when I was in high school, you were around like a plethora of different people with different interests and some of them were actors and artists. But then you went to school and you surrounded yourself in events surrounded by people with the exact same interests as you. And you're like, I'm home. I'm absolutely home. Like there was not a more euphoric feeling than that. You
Actually,
know.
my first year in high school, we had a magnet school. That was,
Oh, okay. So yours was a little more catered, probably
yeah.
too.
And
Yeah.
so we had after school classes, but
Hmm.
we lost our funding.
Oh,
And
typical.
a group of us that were really into it, we started our own, we called it Teen Repertory Theater. We started our own company.
Wow.
We did,
Wait. So like how did you work that out? How did that come about?
we just wanted more than just
Hmm.
acting class and doing a show at school. We wanted to do more. So we
Yep.
created our own kind of community theater.
Wow.
One of the girls that was involved, her church let us use their meeting room. You know, they
Okay.
had a stage, and we actually went because in school, at high school, we would go every year to the Bucks County Playhouse for their high school um, competition, like
Yep.
different one act plays, and we would compete, and people would
Okay.
view us, and there were awards. So we, as a, a repertory theater outside of school, we went and we performed there.
Mm. Wow. That's absolutely incredible. I've never heard of anybody taking it upon themselves once the funding for their school was lessened to take it upon themselves to go and, and create an entire different theater company. That's
Well, I
incredible.
the summer of '86, I was doing a production of Sound of Music,
Okay.
and at the time, I converted to Orthodox Christianity 7 years ago, but I was
Okay.
raised Jewish.
Hmm.
The teen, I lived in Teaneck, and the
Hmm.
Teaneck News came to do a they sent a reporter to do a story on me
Hmm.
because I was doing Sound of Music, and the headline was Teaneck Jewish resident portrayed nun.
Wow, what a paper.
So they did this article on me, and they went and they talked to my high school theater teacher,
Hmm.
and she would comment. She said, "I couldn't believe it. They were so in love with this that they started their own company." She was just
Yeah.
beyond amazed that we would do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's incredible. Um, what was the first show that you guys did when you're in that group?
In that group, we did the Matchmaker, and I
Okay.
played Dolly.
Gotcha.
And what we did for the one act that we brought to Bucks County, we did a one act version, non-musical version of the show Runaways.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Uh,
Now, what has have you learned if you could go back, being a veteran of the acting industry now, if you could go back and tell your starting out self anything, at least one thing, do you have any advice that you would give to somebody, either your younger self or to somebody who's just starting in the world of theater?
I would have insisted that my parents send me to a performing arts school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot.
I wanted to go to the fame school, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you were right around the area where you could, you
I was
know?
in New York City, I was in New Jersey, but
Yeah.
I could have done it. Yeah, my parents both worked for the New York City school system, so I'm sure there
Yeah.
was it could have gotten me in.
Yeah. Yeah. That I've heard a lot of stories about people who have said if they had the talent, but if they just had the opportunity, if they just had the chance. And now that leads me into another question is that, we as actors and performers and artists, we're almost desensitized to hearing the word no.
Yeah.
Now. How do you kind of turn your brain off and like push through that? Because after like the millionth no, it really only takes like one or two for like a lot of people in the beginning to say, I can't do this. I can't take it. My ego's too fragile. My self-esteem isn't there. How do
Yeah.
you push through that?
I've had to take several breaks from doing theater because of health issues.
Okay.
But the fact is that, when I go back, every time I go back, it's like I feel like my soul is fulfilled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I just look at every no as an experience.
Yeah.
It was an
Definitely.
educational experience. I learned something from it and
Hmm.
something that I could bring to the next audition.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Mm.
I mean it just that you're not gonna get everything.
Yeah.
I
Definitely. All right, let's get to the creative questions to kind of cap this off. If you could be a part of any creative work, what work would it be?
I have always wanted to direct the show Barnum.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Why is that?
Love the show. Love
Yeah,
it. It's such
yeah,
a huge undertaking. And to find a place that has, you know, that's high enough that where you could fly things, people
hmm
need to fly in that
yep,
show.
yeah,
Huge
definitely.
undertaking for any like local theater.
Yep, yep.
That's I've always wanted to do.
That would be really great. Do you
Yeah,
need a lot of production for it?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I would
that's probably one of the
definitely
biggest hindrances then.
yeah.
No. But no, that's a good one. I've asked a lot of people that question. I've never heard anybody mention Barnum before. That is incredible. Um, and then lastly, this whole channel is about inspiring people to do more creative things and to unblock that creativity block. When you feel that creativity block, whether it's in performing or directing or anything else in your life, what are some ways that you kind of mitigate and work your way through that creativity block?
I like to analyze everything
Hmm.
I do. Every show, I analyze every character. And when I work as a director, I have my cast write like this long, I have this form that they have to fill out that basically is a bio of that character.
Wow, that's really nice.
I really want them to become that character. And I've done it
Hmm.
myself. I mean, I did a production of Sweeney Todd when I lived
Hmm.
in Jersey, and I was the Mrs. Lovett understudy, but I did the letter, um, and the director wanted us to have, well, everybody in the ensemble to have a specific character.
Okay.
It was Mrs. Mooney,
Yeah. Yep.
the captain. And so, I mean, I did all this shtick around doing the song God That's Good. And I was going around and I was like looking at things and sniffing and trying to figure
Yeah.
out. I mean, I had a character.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, your method is one of your methods might be to sit down, really think about it, almost meditate on it, and really try to kind of like push through. Um, okay, yeah, that's a really great and introspective way to do that. A lot of people like it's, they think they've grasped what their character is, but they've only skimmed the surface. And if they just spent a little bit more time thinking about it, thinking of their actions and the whys, why they do what they do,
Right.
it really just comes to them. Um, well, this has been amazing, Jen. I thank you so much for your time. Where
Uh,
can people find you?
I'm on Facebook a lot, just
Okay.
Werner.
Yep.
On Instagram as NJJEN3953.
Okay.
And if you join any horror movie related channel on YouTube, you'll find me. I'll either I'll either be on the stream because
Yep.
I do watch parties where I'm actually on the stream
Yep.
or be in the chat moderating.
Yep. And it'll be easy to find you, but if you see a video feed of somebody just holding a pillow up to their face, that'll be me. And so I'll post the links to anything that you want to promote down in the description below. But other than that, Jen Warner, a lifelong actress, now mezzo slash baritone. I
Like
think.
Allotoon.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Makes sense. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say to the people out there?
Um, Go see the dinner detective.
Oh yeah, the dinner detective that Jen is in Albany. They also have other locations where it's a murder mystery dinner theater. They have in if you're in New York, Buffalo, Syracuse, lots of other places. Actually, they're all over the country. Just look it up. Look up Dinner Detective. We'll put a link for that in the description as well. Good night out, great five-course meal, even better theater. So
It's fun. Oh
it
my
is a
God,
lot of fun.
so much.
Definitely. So much fun. All right, Jen, thank you so much. Thank you to you guys. We'll have more interviews coming out every week. Thank you guys. Stay creative.
Bye bye. Thank you.